All right, guys, so we are going to finish up our notes, and then remember you have another short video after this. So the multiplying and dividing ones are super important. We talked about really briefly at the end of the hour when we are multiplying both sides of an inequality by a negative number, then we have to reverse our inequality. So for example, a number divided by -3 would look like that, is less than 5. And then I draw in my sides, and when I go to solve for n, I need to multiply the -3 away, and if I do it on one side, I have to do it on the other. And so I multiplied both sides by a negative, meaning that when I simplify, I need to switch my sign or reverse my sign and make it -15. So we changed that sign here. This one changed. Okay, now an example of that not happening, if I had 1/2 of a number is more than -8, I put in my sides, and to get rid of the half, I need to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is really just 2. And so this time, the number that went on both sides isn't negative, so I won't change. And n is going to stay greater than -16, so no change. If we try a few on the inside here, 1/8 of a number is less than or equal to 3. We put in our sides. And then to solve for x, I would multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is going to be 8/1. And so when I simplify, we'll have x and then 24 over here. Now the number that I put on both sides was not negative, so I don't change the sign. I'll put 24 here because it's equal to, I'm going to close that circle. A number that comes before it is definitely 0. A number that comes after it is definitely 50. And x is trying to be smaller, it's trying to be eaten by the baby bird, so smaller numbers are towards 0. So our arrow goes that way. Next, a number divided by 4 is less than -2. So I put in my sides. To get x alone, it's being divided by 4. So to undo divide by 4, I'll times both sides by 4. And so when I simplify, I get x. When I simplify over here, I get -8. And I did not multiply both sides by a negative, so I do not change the sign. Okay, so I put -8. Something that's definitely smaller is -100. Something that's definitely bigger is 0. And x cannot be equal to, so open circle this time. And x is trying to be smaller, so smaller numbers are towards -100, not towards 0. And then last but not least up here, -1/6 of a number is less than -9. And so I put in my sides. And then to get x alone, I need to multiply by the reciprocal, which would be -6/1 on both sides, so really just -6. On this side, it cancels out. We're just left with x. On this side, when I multiply, I get 54. And this time, because both numbers are negative, like the number I put on both sides is negative, I do flip the sign. So now we're greater than. So I'd put 54 on my number line. I'm not equal to, so I'll do an open circle. A number that comes before it is 50. A number that comes after it is 60. And x is trying to be bigger, eaten by the alligator, and 60 is a bigger number, so I'm going to go towards that. Okay, so we have the same thing with division. When I divide both sides by a negative number, I have to reverse my inequality symbol. So an example of that would be 4 times a number is at least 10. So at least is greater than or equal to, so backwards, because this has to be at least 10, but it could be bigger. So it could equal 10, but it could be bigger. And so when I put in my sides and solve, I'm going to need to divide each side by 4 to get rid of the times by 4. And I am not dividing by a negative, so I will not change the sign, so no change. Here I should reduce. Even though it doesn't divide evenly, I can reduce. 2 will go into both, so 5 over 2. And x is alone, so we're done. Now over here, negative 5 times a number is no more than, so less than or equal to, negative 10. And I put in my sides. And to solve for x over here, I need to divide the negative 5 away on both sides. And so since I'm dividing by a negative on both sides, this time I will switch that sign. And when I divide, I'm 2, so this one changed. Okay, so the number that goes on both sides is the only number that matters. If that number is negative, then I switch my inequality. So a couple more to try. 3 times a number is at least negative 9. So at least is greater than or equal to. I would divide both sides by 3. So x will not change. And then negative 3 because both numbers were positive. So negative 3, something that's smaller than that is negative 4. Something that's bigger than that is negative 2. And I can be equal to, so filled in circle. And then x is trying to be bigger, which is towards 0, and all these numbers over here. Okay, next, negative 12 times a number is less than 84. So I draw in my sides. To get x alone, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 12. So when I simplify here, I get x. When I simplify here, I get negative 7. And because both numbers on both sides are negative, I'm going to switch that inequality. And it's going to be greater than now. So negative 7 on my number line, negative 8 is smaller, negative 6 is bigger. We're not equal to, so not a filled in circle. And then x is trying to be bigger, it's trying to be the alligator number, and bigger numbers are to the right. And then last but not least, negative 2/3 times a number is at least 12. So I put in my sides. To get rid of a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal. We don't divide. So 3 over negative 2 on both sides. So I'm going to throw a 1 over that so that I can keep my numerators and denominators the same. And so over here, x will be alone. On this side, I'm going to divide the 2 into 12 for 6. And when I multiply here, I'm going to get negative 18. And because I did a negative on both sides, I have to switch that inequality. So we'll have negative 18. Something that's definitely smaller is negative 100. Something that's definitely bigger is positive 100. And x is trying to be less than or equal to. So equal to means I can fill in the circle. Less than that is towards negative 100. So my arrow goes that way. Alrighty, you got one other video to watch.